I will use nicer words than what I use in private, but it's modernist architects. Their stupidity knows no bounds. And I'm very, after talking with them for 8 years, they're not very clever people. They're not intelligent people, and they cannot argue why they do like they do. So they are focused on materials. And it's just, this is so illogical. Do we preserve buildings because they had good materials? Are the buildings standing today that we love because they had good quality materials? They believe that a sustainable building is one that is built in, eco-friendly materials. But a building, as I said in that very short clip, a building is ecological when we want to preserve it, and we don't want to preserve ugly buildings. And I can give you a very, very good example. I know we do it in Sweden. I know we do it in many other countries. You must do it in the UK. I bet you do it in the UK. We reuse old factory buildings from the 19th century. And they become, luxury residential buildings, for creative types to do art and all these things. Could anyone imagine that we would reuse a 1960s factory and repurpose it for housing? Not a chance. It will be torn down, as soon as it's not used as a factory anymore. So by building classical and beautiful with cultural expression, we want to preserve a building. That is ecological. The longer the lifespan of a building, the more eco-friendly it is. Because the biggest contribution to CO2, of course, there is heating, but if you have an old building, you can modernize it. So it comes up to the modern standards of heating and such. But usually they are good, made in materials, so they have natural, they cool down in the summer and they get warm in the winter. But anyway, because they are beautiful, they get longer lifespan, because every generation will try, when the original function is no longer valid, when it's not a factor anymore. Oh, but it's such a beautiful thing. What would it be? Such a pity to tear it down. So let's make housing of it. And when it's not housing anymore, let's make offices of it. Let's make a cinema of it. There will always be, if you have an old London building, that's 500 years, how many purposes have it had during its lifetime? And why was it repurposed so many times? Because people loved it. So if you build buildings and you focus on the wrong things, if you focus on materials instead of aesthetic and cultural expression, I must really stress this, because it's not beauty like neuroscientific beauty. It's also beauty in the form of cultural expressions. You're in the UK. You combine, what was in the past with what you believe will become in the future. And you create like a frozen time frame, with cultural expressions, ornaments, statues, so that this building has value beyond mere function. Then people will preserve it. And that's the key to build ecological. And because all these architects are 99%, there are many classical architects, but they are still a fringe, compared to the sum, total amount of architects. They are modernists, so they are focused on materials and think if we only build with the right materials and put some grass on the roof, then it will be a green building. But it won't, because if it's ugly, as soon as the original purpose is lost, it will be torn down, and then you will build anew.
Something like
I can say this, like that. That's just craziness. That will last for 30 years. Yeah.
Please.
And this is also, this just shows how little these people know. I would never, ever want to live in such a tower, not only because it's a tower, because how many insects will be at your balcony? Can you eat? Do you think seriously that someone can eat a dinner at that balcony without getting 3 trillion bugs, mosquitoes, beetles pestering you? Of course, you can solve that with pesticides, but then it won't be a green building. So,
yeah, that's half the problem with the.
Yeah,
that's what half the protests are against is the pesticides that we use.
Yeah, so it's they never think. You always have to think. If you should do something new, there's something called unintended consequences. And this looks great on renders.
Yeah.
But very, very quickly, people realize that this is a bug paradise. I'm not scared of bugs, but I know that my girlfriend is very scared of bugs, and I know that the kids are scared of bugs. So why would you want to live in a bug paradise?
Yeah.
Because they will build nests there also. You will get birds' nests, and it can be cozy from a distance, but you don't want a bird's nest, above your balcony and have, bird poo all over your balcony. It's, yeah. So anyway, if you build a beautiful building, it will be reused. For every generation will reuse it. Today, old factory buildings are reused. Old working class districts in Stockholm, in Berlin, in Munich, in Paris are hyper gentrified today. They have become luxury areas. Can you imagine, that the dwellings built for the working class 100 years ago are so beautiful and good that today no worker, not even middle class, can afford to live there. But the people that do live there, and this is also very interesting, in our former working class district in Stockholm, and it's probably the same in all the other countries, a majority, a third of all Swedish architects live in this traditional working class district. And equally many of our journalists. So I think it was an Englishman that said it. I think his name is Alexander Studdard. I think he's like I don't know if he's an architect. I think he's a sculptor, because he also saw this, because it's the same, in the UK, that clearly modernism is something you do to others. Because all these architects and culture journalists, they live in these traditional neighborhoods, in traditional buildings, but in their offices, they create buildings and urbanity that they don't themselves want to live in. And that's, the clearest evidence that something is very, very, very wrong.
Well, Michael,
I finally say, I want for all the viewers, check this out. Don't take me for word. Now look at buildings, these facade divisions that I talked about, and check out all the, historic factory buildings, warehouses, mills, and see how they are all repurposed today as luxury buildings. And remember that they were utility buildings.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a very, very prominent, as late as the 30s, they built great. What's it called? You have a large Art Deco power station in the UK. What's it called? Not Reading Power Station, but you have if you check for Art Deco power plant UK.
Art
and it
Deco
has been
power plant.
UK.
I was about to just be a little bit proud of my city. I'll show you in a second. What happened?
I'm very passionate about this subject, so I can just talk.
Don't worry about
until
it at
end
all.
of time. So.
It's I love people with passion about things. So let me pull this up.
I hope people believe that this is a good cause. So
I think I would be stunned if they didn't. Put it that way. Let me pull this up for you.
Yeah, there you have it. There you have it.
Which one?
Battersea.
Oh, Battersea. Yeah, my flatmate wants to live there.
Yeah. So this is a power plant, like the nuclear reactor of the day. but it's so beautiful, especially interiors. Exteriors can be a bit dull, but if you check the old control room and you see the glass ceiling there in the center.
Oh yeah, here.
Oh, there. Yes, there. To the left.
This one?
No, not that one. If you go to the there, where you have the mouse.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was. I thought that was a picture of something else.
Oh.
Wow, that is absolutely fucking beautiful.
Yeah. So, a power plant from the 1930s is so beautiful that what is it today? Now it's probably luxury housing, and you have offices, and you have luxury retail. Can anyone imagine a coal plant or a nuclear plant built post-war being repurposed? No. So beauty is the ultimate. Beauty and cultural expression is the ultimate sustainability. And if you don't build beautiful,
There's another
buildings
one.
will not last. We tear down how many buildings in the city that you live or that anyone lives in from the 80s have you start tearing down now? All the office blocks from the 80s, they are tearing them down now. Is that sustainable? No, it's not.
No.
And why do they tear them down? Because they are broken somehow? No. Because they have no value beyond mere function. So when they're not needed as an office anymore, then you tear them down and you build a new function. You don't reuse.
Hey everyone, thanks for making it right the way to the end of the podcast. I love that you tuned in this long. Do me a favor, hit subscribe, because 80% of you bastards are not subscribing, but you're watching my videos. See you next time.